heroes are never out of fashion. In fact, if you turn on the telly, every day you can find a Dracula film, anytime. And then there's Games of Thrones, and then so different versions of Snow White even. I just don't understand why a simple story like Snow White need to have several movies made. And we have big stars like Angelina Jolie, Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, all taking on the role of the evil queen. Nowadays, the main character is not Snow White, but the evil queen. We are more interested in a woman of passion, in her lust for power and for eternal youth, and for what? Just to and then her magic ability to destroy and to kill. So it's not strange that I want to write a magic story. And then I want to tell a magic story with a difference, from a different background. And actually, this story is from Buddhist script. In a way, it's the Bible story of Buddhism. It's from, like our Bible story, it originated in Buddhist scripts. So, of course, as you know, Buddhism has different branches, and the Tibetan sect is called mythical sect. It's not so well known as the others. It's not so. Actually, they don't make a point of explaining themselves. They think that if you don't understand, that's because you don't have the right karma. They don't go around bothering to have great preaching and explanation of themselves. And that's why they'll call them Mat Zhong, the mysterious sect. So I got a story from Mat Zhong that is very convenient because not many people have heard of it. And it's about the big Tibetan saint. He's actually his most famous Tibetan saint. He's Mila. He lived in 11th century AD, and his father died when he was 7 years old, and he was driven out together with his mother and his youngest sister, and they had a life of deprivation. And the mother was full of hatred and wanted revenge. And then he pushed Mila, that I call Mila in my story, to learn black magic and to revenge on the uncle and aunt. Eventually, Mila or Mila killed the uncle's family and destroyed an entire village. Then, when he saw the damage that he had done, he repented and turned to Buddhism. And for the rest of his life, he was a hermit in the snowy caves of the Himalayas. And then he's one of the founders of the White sect, the different sects of Tibetan Buddhism. And Mila was one of the founders of the White sect. And this sect's emphasis is on renunciation. You only can learn wisdom by renouncing worldly goods, and also by persistence and in strict discipline. So that's the White sect. That's the religious part. And then before he died when he was in his 80s. He had thousands of followers, and his fame already spread throughout Tibet because he was such a transcendental human being. And people believe, even in Tibet today, that he was the only human being who achieved Buddhahood in his lifetime. In his one lifetime, he didn't need to be reincarnated. He became Buddha in his lifetime. So that was the hero that I was talking about. Okay, so much or on the background of the head of the hero. And then why do I choose to write about Tibet? I don't have any political leanings. Because of course I'm fascinated, like most people are, because it's a mysterious land, beautiful scenery, sort of forbidden, and it's very inaccessible until recent years. Even nowadays, you cannot go lightheartedly to Tibet. At least I cannot, because then you have to think of mountain sickness. That's a serious consideration. And I cannot go because I have weak respiratory system. I'm asthmatic, so I can only dream about it. That was one of the reasons for my fascination with this land. And did I write a biography? No, I didn't write a biography. I just took the outline of the life story of this great saint and made up episodes. So it was rather easy for me, this method of writing. So when I'm in the mood, I just think up one episode and put it aside, and then think up another episode. And when I have enough of them, I put them together and then that's the book. So to me, it's just an easier way of going about it. Am I being disrespectful to this great saint by making up stories about him? I don't think so, because it has been done before, like the famous Chinese novel Journey to the West, Sai Yao Gei, and it was all made up. There was no Monkey King and there was no Pink Monk, none of these characters, but there was a holy monk in the Tang Dynasty who went to India to get the Buddhist scripts. That part is true. The rest are all made up. So the same with my story. The framework of is true, but all the episodes are made up. So I'd like to read to you one of the episodes, because this book is episodic, so they are all independent. This episode, I think, is sort of good sample for the book. It's chapter 9, Monkey Demons. Mila returned to his hut at sundown after a busy day working in the fields. He was carrying an armful of firewood, which he dropped in astonishment upon entering his room. 5 creatures already occupied the hut. They looked like large, iron-colored monkeys, covered in short fur, with long tails and enormous eyes. One was sitting on Mila's bed with an open book on his knees, as if reading aloud. Standing next to him was another, attentively turning the pages. 2 were listening, sitting on the floor. The 5th one stood near the door, like a servant. Mila thought, am I delirious? After the initial shock, he managed to compose himself a little. He decided these must be spirits of surrounding hills and household. They are offended because I have not yet paid my respects by giving them food offerings. I shall sing to them a song of praise. Mila sang this song. Oh, this valley is so peaceful, the blessed dwelling place of my Lama. High above the mountains, white clouds float by. Below, the river gently flows. Tree branches are dancing in the wind. Bushes of many kinds are flowering. The air is full of fragrance. Bees are buzzing, birds twittering. Little birds practice flying. Little horses practice running. Mila practice learning. Oh, friendly spirits, hear my song and return to your own places. The creatures would not at all appease Mila's song. They became even more belligerent, staring at him angrily and chattering among themselves. 2 of them came near Mila and menaced him, exposing their fangs, but they kept their claws behind their backs. Mila then realized that they were demons and had come intending to do him some mischief. He tried to exorcise them by fiercely chanting incantations and commanding them loudly to depart. The demons all stood up and stamped around. Some said violent words, and others laughed, but they would not go away. Mila was so frustrated, the tears welled up in his eyes, and then he thought of Dharma, the power of compassion. Demons were born in evil bodies as retribution for deeds of killing in their previous life. They had to nourish the bodies through doing some evil, causing harm and injury to others, and thus descend even lower in the wheel of transmigration. Mila decided to direct his mind instead to compassion and sympathy for the demons. They are, after all, he thought, sentient beings with light in their souls, and as they were reading when I came in, must have respect for good words, so I will preach to them. Mila gave this sermon. Oh, lowly creatures, listen carefully. To be born in an evil body is the retribution for deeds of killing. To satisfy your hunger, you do evil deeds to harm others. Sneering at me, that's your constant business. I'm not afraid of you causing me distraction. Think of the punishment of wheel of transmigration. Renounce your evil deeds completely, and through the efficacy of prayer, make a firm resolution. Restrain the malice of the thoughts. Please do not harm me. Return again to your own place, O you demons. The demons were outraged. They gathered together in an angry throng and glared at Mila, and looked as if they were about to pounce and engulf him. Mila was desperately frightened and wanted to escape, but he suddenly remembered his Lama's teaching. His Lama said that he must keep his mind empty of fear, for demons would arise out of this terror. Mila realized that this mistake was to treat the demons as if they were outside and not within his mind. His courage rose and he sang the song. Like an eagle flying in the sky, although the sky is wide and the earth's valley deep below, I do not fear, for a flying eagle never falls from the sky. Like a fish swimming in the sea, although the waves are great, the nets and iron hooks many, I do not fear, for a fish wandering in water never drowns. The paws of a snow lion are never frozen. A stone cannot break a block of iron. I, Mila, son of Dancing Camel, practice learning and serve the Lama. Although the demons are violent and many, I do not fear. Mila faced them cordially, as if they were his guests. Sons of Pinayaya, that you came here is wonderful. Don't hurry away. Stay with me at least for tonight, when we can have a long discussion. Let's compete to see who is greater, the black or the white Dharma. Your purpose here is obviously to obstruct my mind. You must swear never to come again if you fail. But you stay. After losing this contest, then shame on you. Mila felt his heart swell with courage and pride. He boldly charged the demons, who became breathless and terrified. They looked timidly at each other, trembling, wavering, to and fro like candle flames. Gradually they merged into one, and then turned into a black whirlwind that rushed out of the room. After a while, Mila calmed down and realized that he had passed an important trial through his spiritual advancement and gained much self-knowledge. The demons had come to haunt him because he had asked for black magic. However, in his heart, he belongs to the white karma, and he had been brave enough to repel the demons, realizing that both they and the blackness originated in his own mind. This episode I chose because it's representative. Mila Rappa, he was actually supposed to be the greatest Tibetan poet. His 100,000 songs and was much venerated in Tibet. It still is sung and taught and whatever, and studied. And so I borrow his metaphors and his tone of voice, and then make up poems to fit the story. However, this episode has something that I want to say that I've learned from Buddhism. And first of all, it's about courage and fear. Courage and fear. That's actually when it's not a rational thing. What you're afraid of. Some people are afraid of mice. Ladies. That's not rational. Fear is not rational. And then some ladies will jump up. A cockroach. Cockroach can't bite you or do anything harmful. So I want to talk about fear and courage. That's my way of talking about fear and courage. And then also and then I want to talk about enlightenment. How you suddenly, and then you're completely helpless. You're so afraid, you don't know what to do, and suddenly you become enlightened. And then I want to talk about enlightenment. These things are primary in Buddhism. That's what attracted me. That's why I am attracted to Buddhism, partly because of the idea of enlightenment. You can suddenly become lighted up from within to get out of your darkness. That's something that I can learn from Buddhism, and I'm trying to write about it. And then another thing, that's why I chose this story to read to you, because I'm rather proud of it. This concept to me is not easy to express. And then, of course, in the book of magic, then we must have a big magic showdown. And then I want to read to you up on the magic showdown of this book. One evening, a while later, when Mila came back from the fields, he found his old nurse, Irma, waiting for him. She had walked for a month, searching the countryside, making enquiries. Irma had been sent by his mother to warn him of the impending danger to his life, and she told Mila that many villagers had been killed in a recent disaster. She described how, on the night of a wedding feast at his uncle's house, to celebrate his son's marriage, many close friends and relatives came early to the party. They were already enjoying the food and drinks before the other guests arrived. Nurse went out to fetch some water from the well, but when she looked back towards the house, she was greatly shocked. The ground floor stable, usually full of horses, was covered with crawling snakes, spiders and scorpions, even looking frogs. A monstrous scorpion tugged at the central pillar as if to pull it down. She screamed, dropped her pail, and started to run. She hardly had time to escape before she was stopped short by hearing a loud bang and turned to see the whole house came crashing down. Later, Irma said she discovered the real cause of the disaster. A large number of horses tied up in the stable became agitated, and several colts got loose. They rushed at the mares, stirring up a great turmoil of neighing and kicking. One mare gave such a terrific kick at the main pillar that it broke, and the whole house tumbled down. The tremendous crash raised a thick cloud of smoke and dust. The ruin was filled with the bodies of men, women, children, and animals. Among the 35 dead were the bride and uncle's 4 sons, as well as his uncle and aunt's close friends and allies. Fortunately, the other guests had lingered on their way from the village, walking leisurely and talking, and were spared. They had been saying, "How true goes the proverb, trust someone with your house, and you'll be turned out of your home." Even if Tobago can't achieve vengeance by means of black magic, it's high time for these people to get the comeuppance, believe in karma, and receive them punished soon for their wickedness. They arrived just in time to witness the catastrophe. Some were shocked and stunned, where others cried out and started wailing. Peter heard the noise and came out of the house to check, then rushed back to tell her mother, "Uncle's house has fallen down and a lot of people have been killed." Doubting that it was true, White Garland got up, the Mila's mother, and went to have a look. When she saw the ruin covered with fire and smoke and people wailing, crying, she became mad with cruel joy. She rushed home, tied a rag on top of a long pole, and raised like a banner. She ran back to the scene and paraded to and fro, muttering to himself and stopping to stare at the ruin every now and then. "Glory to the gods and hail to the Guru," she cried. "Did not Mila Sharap have a worthy son? Have I not avenged myself? I've had to wear rags and eat coarse food for years, but it was worth to see it. Fight if strong and curse if weak." This was Uncle's challenge to us. Has this challenge been answered? The curse of the weak and few have now overcome the mighty and many. She raged on and on. Look at the bodies of men and women above and animals below. Look at the provisions and treasures all spoiled. Oh, my son had done this for me and blessed my old age. How delighted I am to enjoy this moment of perfect triumph. Peter was unable to stop her. Eventually her brother, Tame, arrived, took her hand, and forcefully led her home. Everyone heard White Garland's gloating, and even her friends thought that she had gone too far. Vengeance was enough. She should not give way to such excessive ill will. When news of White Garland's behavior reached the ears of relatives and friends of victims, they were enraged. They said, not only was she responsible for the terrible death and destruction of so many, but she also boasted of her triumph. Let's wink out her vacant heart. However, the village elders disagree. It's not prudent to kill her, for her son may answer by causing another calamity and perhaps kill us all. We must find the cub first, kill him on the spot, and deal with the mother. All agree to this strategy except Uncle. He said, "I have no more sons or daughters to lose. I welcome death." He rushed forth to kill White Garland, but was held back by the neighbors. "It was all because of you that we have come to this," the neighbors said. "Now you want to create more mischief. If you act on your own, then we're no longer friends. We'll try to stop you." Uncle had no choice but to submit to the majority. So that was the main scene of magic. So black magic, this has a, we think of the devil as deceitful, like in Macbeth, the witches, they told Macbeth, "No man born of woman can kill you." So he was filled with false courage. So you are always the thing about the thing is always that you can look at one way, look at it one way, and then to fill you with courage, and actually it's a trap to your downfall. That's the nature of witchcraft and black magic, I think, to me. That to me, and in this scene, what is true? Did the nurse saw the? Did she see the truth? All the sports, the scorpion and the snakes and whatnot, or she did have a more logical explanation. That's the ambivalence of black magic. That's the vein I've kept throughout the book. All the black magic, all the white magic, then you can always look at it, always give, at the same time, I give them a logical explanation. You can look at it one way, you can look at it another way. You can look at it as magic, or you can have a logical explanation. Because that's the deceit of witchcraft. That's what I think. I know. Well, I think that's all I'm going to read. I welcome questions. Can we sort of talk, because we're all good friends here, we just can have a good discussion, say whatever comes to our mind.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. That's great.
I am not a disciplined writer like you. For me, if I am faced with tremendous tasks, like you have to write this novel of 10,000 words, then I'll immediately freeze. I can only, in a way, I can only say to myself, I'm going to write a little story, because that's nice to write and nice to read. For maybe this week, I'm going to write a little story, just a little bit, and then because all my writing will be episodic, because I cannot stand to face a tremendous task. So I would say this took me about 2 years, writing every episode every now and then, and then I thought it was all done with. Great, I have a book, and then Mrs. Bakley said, "Oh, you have to do the Chinese." Oh, I scratched my head. Here we go.
I think you said that.
then that was the tedious part, because then I've already told my story. Now it's translation, just work, There was no original story, so because it was in those days they don't have novels in Tibet, or they don't have, and his disciple, his first disciple wrote his life history, a biography, but it was completely covered with Buddhist teachings. It's completely dogmatic, so you have to dig through layers of dogma before you can. But then I can only ascertain certain facts of his life, when he was born, and then when he turned to Buddhism, when he died, who was his teacher, and so on. It's not like Christianity, like Jesus. You will teach Sermon on the Mount. It's very accessible. They teach you this and that. But Buddhism is not like that. It's a lot of theory, a lot of you should do this, you should not do that, and things like that. It's not like good narrative. It's a lot of rules and rules of thumb, warnings and things that discipline what you have to do to achieve enlightenment. And like Buddha said, your chance of coming back to this earth in your next life as a human being is like you pick up a handful of dust from the ground, and he take one particle is this much. So they talk like that. So it's not really a rational story that you can follow. So you just get the main events and make up your own story. So it wasn't I cannot sort of make it more modern, but I can make it. I can just get my main concern was to get away from all the dogmas.
Oh, right.
And all the teachings. Actually, at least to take as little Buddhism into it as possible.
But what kind of public are you looking like?
I did at first I thought it was for young adults because look, and then it happened that I'm aware that so many people are learning Chinese, so a book like this would be helpful. And then I was with Phil Wellen yesterday, and he said, "How come not so many people doing this? This is really very useful if you want to learn the language." To start with, first of all, I've published books in Chinese. It's in a way it's a challenge to see whether I can do it or not. So, and then it is nice to I'll make a detour. To me, people who speak two languages, the bilingual people, are different in personality than people who only know one language.
Yeah.
So language, the way you think, you do think different from when you're doing one language than doing another language. Even the train of thought, the thinking process is a little bit different. So it's very interesting to me. So when I did it in English first, and then when I did it, it wasn't really a translation, it's just a redoing of the same task. Then I noticed, wow, it's different, not the same. You don't think the same way. It's not just a matter of the language. Even your way of thinking is different. I took the script to the in Happy Valley near the QE Stadium, they have a temple of Tibetan Buddhism. The white is set. I actually took it. One day I went there and I've shown it to the Lama, and he sort of went through with me to make sure there's nothing that's offensive to them, and he actually helped me with the names.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. I'm very grateful.